All right, so I'm going to show you guys how to reflect using your text. And this may look like it's complicated or it's more than what you can handle, but it is really simple. It's just a bunch of simple things put together. So the simple concepts that we're going to talk about is one, how to create a background. We're going to also talk about using gradients, and last but not least, we're going to talk about a layer mask. So, combining those things together um, and using transform tool, all those things together, we can create this image. So, how do we do that? Let's start from the very beginning. And I'm just going to get rid of all of my text, delete that. And I'm even get rid of my background so I can show you how to create a background. So the way that I like to create backgrounds, and I think I showed you this before, is go to my shape tool, and I'm just gonna create a new shape. And this shape, I can easily just select the color that I want. And I'm gonna use blue. Actually, I'm gonna use a darker blue. And typically when you use dark colors with this particular technique, you get a better outcome than what you would with bright colors. So with the dark colors, it's easier to see the reflection. And now that I have this, the color that I want, I'm going to lock this layer, and I'm going to go ahead and select my type tool, and I'm just going to type reflect. Now, this wouldn't work as well if, let's say, if I had all lowercase, but I had a descender. This descender, which is the Y, um, let's just look at this. I'm gonna go ahead and show you a preview of how reflect looks. So to reflect this, and I'm gonna do this again, so I'm gonna just go through it real fast just to show you this example. Um, I'm just going to duplicate this and flip this vertically. So when I reflect this, it's going to be kind of hard to kind of get this point of reflection across if the Y is bouncing above my baseline or below my baseline. So yeah, it doesn't it's not very convincing as a reflection if it's lowercase and there's a descender like this Y. So let's make sure that when we're doing this, it's all caps. And even if it's with a descender letter, because it's all caps, it won't have any effect on your reflection. So let's go ahead and start it. We saw how to actually reflect it, and I'm gonna show you that in a second after I kern that. All right, so now I'm just going to duplicate this. The way I duplicated it before was I held down the Option key or Alt key, and I drug this down. And if I hold down the Shift key while I drag it down, then it stays even. It stays perfectly even. If I let go of the Shift key, I could accidentally shift this over, making an uneven reflection. Now the other way to do it is right here. I could right click and duplicate this layer, or I could just press Command J to duplicate the layer. And notice that it looks like nothing happened, but if I just drag this down while holding the Shift key down, then I have the second reflect. Now, in order to flip this, I have to press Command T, or I have to go to Edit and then free transform in order to right click it and just flip it vertically, by the way, vertical flip. Now I want to bring this a little bit closer. Make sure you hold down that Shift key when moving it. And then I'm going to add that layer mask that we talked about. So the layer mask is this button right here. Once I click on it, this white screen will pop up on my layer. That white screen is basically saying that everything that's in white for this layer is visible. So if it's not showing the reflect, not just because the reflect is white, but it's not showing the reflect because it's not, that's not part of what it's trying to show. It's showing that everything in here is visible. That's what the white represents. And what I mean by that is that if I grabbed a black brush and I started, let's make sure this is selected. Oh, I have a white brush, I'm sorry, black brush, and I started marking this up. Notice that where my marks are in here, there's no visibility. That's because my black represents invisible while white represents visible. So if I had gray or a dark gray, then I'll have kind of visible but still a little transparent. So if I have white, I can see it. If I don't, then if I have black, I can't see it. That's pretty straightforward. So what I'm going to do is actually use my gradient tool. And if you don't see your gradient tool, it's under, you'll probably find your paint bucket tool. And from your paint bucket tool, just hold that button down and then you can go to gradient. So now what I'm going to do, while this layer mask is selected, I'm just going to click and drag. And I'm just going to click and drag until I get it the way I want. I want it to be transparent at the bottom. Oh, notice the colors that I have right here is gray and white. I don't want gray and white, I want black and white. So I'm just going to click this button right here to get my default colors. Now I'm just going to click, there we go. So now it's making my font transparent and partially invisible. So now we have this. And that's pretty much it. That's how I did it. Now I could take it further and change the opacity and make the opacity lighter. Or I can do something else that we'll talk more about in the next video.